Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. It's a public hearing this evening on the 2019-2020 budget. I'm sorry, 2018-2019 budget. With that said, I'm going to read the statement of adequate notice. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Vios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Thursday, April 26, 2018. The Board will meet to officially act upon the adoption of the 2018-2019 school year budget.
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered a private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. Roll call, please.
Callie,
Here.
DeCaro,
Here.
DePrima,
Here.
Dinoff,
Present.
Lent,
Present.
Reed,
Here.
Singh,
Here.
Sulikowski,
Present.
Dunn.
Here.
Quorum exists.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Mara. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Joseph Mara, our business administrator, who's going to take us through the presentation of the 2018-2019 school year budget. Mr. Mara, it's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Welcome to the public hearing to adopt the 2018-19 budget for the Old Bridge Township School District. The outline for tonight's meeting will be as follows. I will introduce the board members and the administrative team. Mr. Cittadino, unfortunately, will not be attending this public hearing because he is attending the opioid and drug awareness program for 8th grade parents tonight at 7 p.m. at the Sandburg Middle School. I will discuss the budget process in terms of timelines. Dr. Holker, to my left, will discuss the district goals, student activities, district accomplishments in 2017-2018, and budget priorities for 2018 and 2019. I will discuss district efficiencies, appropriations, revenue, and taxes. Dr. Holker will do a final summary to wrap everything up. At this point, I'd like to introduce the board members, beginning with Mr. Dunn, the board president. Can we get that focused on Mr. Dunn? That's Mr. Dinoff.
Youth, I like that.
We struggle with this every year.
Now you got the words in front of it.
Back to the youth.
Okay.
There.
Okay, now if we swing over to my right, all the way to my right, your left, Mrs. Jill Callie, the vice president of the board. Then we have Mrs. Jill DeCaro, Mr. Salvatore DePrima. Now we can swing over to Mr. Dinoff. Mr. Jeffrey Dinoff, Mrs. Lisa Lent, Mr. Walter Reed, and Mr. Matthew, I'm sorry, Mr. Baldwin Singh, I'm sorry, my apologies. and Mr. Matthew Silikowski. Thank you. To my left is Dr. Kathy Holker, and my name is Joseph Mara. I'm the business administrator for the school district. The first part of the presentation will discuss the timelines and the budget process. And this is an annual process that's fairly consistent. In October, the budget process begins by building the payroll budget, and budget information is requested from all administrators in the district. In November, we continued to develop the payroll budget by incorporating changes, modifying it for retirements, reassignments, and possible additions. Costs for employee benefits, tuition, transportation, and maintenance are projected, and administrators submit their budget requests. In December, we continue to develop the payroll budget by incorporating changes, again modifying it for retirements that we are made aware of, and reassignments and additions. The administrator budget proposals are incorporated into the budget subject to the limitation not to exceed the prior year budget. Proposed new adoptions, professional services, and projects are added during the month of December. In January, the leadership team meets to determine the modifications to the budget. The payroll budget continues to be modified. Maintenance and capital projects are prioritized and incorporated into the budget. In February this year, the Finance Committee, the Committee of the Whole, met and reviewed the first draft of the administration proposed budget. A majority of the Finance Committee, Committee of the Whole, supported the proposed budget, which maintained all existing programs, new adoptions, facilities projects, and utilization of reserves, subject to receipt of the state aid notification and without any reduction and no material changes in cost projections. However, subsequent to that first Finance Committee meeting, the decision was made to increase the budget to expand significantly school safety and security. In March, the state aid notification was received with an increase of $447,658 in additional aid. However, our charter school aid payments increased by $11,364, which resulted in a net increase of state aid of $436,294. On March 20th, at the televised board meeting, the tentative budget was adopted by the Board of Education and approved for submission to the Executive County Superintendent. On April 17th, the Executive County Superintendent approved the tentative budget, which is the budget that is approved for advertising. The budget was advertised in the newspaper of record, the Home News Tribune, on April 22nd, 2018. That brings us to where we are today, the public hearing to adopt the 2018-19 budget. At this point, I will transfer this over to Dr. Holker.
Good evening, and thank you for your attention this evening. Our district goals are to continue to expand innovative educational opportunities for all students, improve financial reserves in anticipation of increased enrollment, and to increase student success by initiating programs to improve daily attendance. During the 2017-18 school year, our students continued to thrive as demonstrated by the sheer numbers of students participating in extracurricular and curricular activities. Naming Sir Obie kicked off the school year, and Sir Obie's enthusiasm continues as he appears at various events, high school students have visited China and Germany, participated in Battle of the Classes, and of course, it's no surprise, with their dedication and enthusiasm that our seniors won, and winning accolades for spirit, citizenship, academics, athletics, and many more. QU tie the knot while elementary students visit Princeton University, participate in school performances, and celebrate each individual's unique qualities and abilities. Our academic, athletics, and arts programs flourish as many of you have witnessed the stellar performance of the cast of Sister Act at Old Bridge High School, award-winning teams, and first place for our award-winning percussionists. I would also add a shout out about our culture and climate, which always sets us apart from other districts. We have incredible team spirit, which is always supported by our Board of Education and local businesses who allow us to provide unique opportunities for our students. 2017-18 district accomplishments include recognition as the 8th safest school district in the state of New Jersey, number 8 of 590. Our highest performance levels on SAT and AP assessments in district history. Our first National Blue Ribbon School, Cheesequake Elementary School. The implementation of Mission 2022, the district 5-year strategic plan. 6,000 HP Stream student devices were rolled out. All of our curriculum is up to date and in compliance with state and national standards. Security site assessments were conducted at every district school. Our Play Unified program was recognized by the New Jersey Special Olympics. Junior World Language Honor Societies were created at the middle school level. Elementary Percussion Ensemble was created for 4th and 5th grade students for opportunities to perform nationwide and internationally. It is the only elementary group of its kind. Students just completed the successful study abroad programs to China and Germany. We initiated the first ever elementary STEM club, and our Old Bridge High School indoor percussion ranked number 1 in the nation all season and fan favorite. We implemented the effective school solutions at Old Bridge High School main campus. We have seen a 45% reduction of out-of-district placements since 2009. We have a total of 15 promising practices nationally recognized, with 6 pending. We should have that information in May for those additional ones that are out there. And those 6 this year were fully funded by local businesses. The Old Bridge High School girls soccer winning GMC conference tournament, the first time in school history. Old Bridge High School cheerleaders winning Group 4 state championship, first time in school history. The Knights football team winning Red Division championship, second time in school history. And Jonas Salk Middle School was selected as an Energy Star school. Priorities moving forward for the 18-19 school year. Tonight's proposed budget includes children learning in safe educational environments as our top priority. It allows us to ensure that the 8th safest school district in New Jersey continues to evolve and remain proactive in facing threats to school safety. It includes a 10-year license for a new Envision K-8 math program, the transition to Frontline for their staff evaluation system and professional learning platform, including a conversion to IEP Direct for Special Services Student Management System, which is also part of the Frontline platform, which streamlines our data collection and improves our efficiency. We will expand clinical therapeutic support for at-risk students through the Effective School Solutions. And the 2018-19 proposed school budget will allow us to meet the educational, social, emotional, and physical needs of all students. At this time, I turn the meeting back over to Mr. Mara.
Thank you, Dr. Hooker. In January of this year, Mr. Cittadino and I met with state and county officials and reviewed various cost and ratio calculations relating to our district. A sample of what was presented at that meeting, and in terms of our district, and in comparison to other districts statewide and regionally, our district's budgeted cost per pupil is less than the state average, and in comparison to other similarly sized districts. Administrative costs per student is less than the statewide average, and again, in comparison to other similarly sized districts. Support cost per student is less than the statewide average, and again, in comparison to other similarly sized districts. And our ratio of faculty to administrative personnel is 5 to 2 administrators, which is below other similarly sized districts. The source of these statistics is the Taxpayer Guide to Education on the NJDOE website. There are many more statistics available there about our district and every district in the state for comparison. As a district, and in comparison to other districts of our size, we're doing very well in terms of our efficiencies. Additional efficiencies. Our energy savings improvement plan, our ESIP, this has been a long project for the district. Beginning in September 2015, the process to develop an ESIP plan began. The process was as follows. A request for proposal was issued to hire an energy savings company, the acronym ESCO. This process required the approval from the Office of the State Controller and the Bureau of Public Utilities. In February 2016, Honeywell, a multinational billion-dollar company, was appointed as the ESCO. From that point forward, and the responsibility of Honeywell, the ESCO, was to develop a plan to maximize our energy efficiencies with facility upgrades and thereby reducing our energy usage and energy costs. The planned upgrades, modifications, and additions will cost approximately $16.4 million. Solar panels will be installed on 5 buildings. Major portions of roofs have already been replaced on those buildings. LED lighting fixtures are installed in every building in the district as of today. Boilers and control systems are installed that are the latest technology, and this entire project will be budget neutral. Financing of the $16.4 million will be repaid over a 15-year period, and the energy cost savings, the rebates from the state and federal government, and the operational savings generated by the upgrades will cover the annual financing cost. To date, we have completed $13.8 million of the $16.4 million in upgrades. Zero-based budgeting is utilized for most appropriations, payroll, some examples are payroll, fringe benefits, commercial insurance, workers' comp insurance, just to mention a few. The district has numerous shared services agreements with other governmental agencies. With these agreements, our district shares in the expertise developed by these other entities without having to develop each operation or function from scratch. Some examples of shared services agreements with Old Bridge Township are as follows: security services, fuel purchases, bus transportation, before and after care services, and sports facilities. Again, just to mention a few. The district also belongs to numerous cooperative purchasing groups statewide. A cooperative purchasing group consists of a large number of entities that have a similar need in terms of what they purchase. One member acts as the lead agency goes out to bid on behalf of all the members, and the members receive the benefit of the pricing of the bid proposal awarded. Our food service operation is profitable, and while transporting approximately 10,000 students per day to and from school, the state has recognized us as an excellent transportation division in terms of efficiency. In terms of appropriations, on this slide, I have summarized the budget into 7 categories. I will discuss program cost last, which will be the next slide. However, the district will spend 2.43% more than was budgeted in 2017-2018, with numerous capital and maintenance projects to be undertaken. For example, safety and security costs will be increased by $1,050,000 district-wide. Technology purchases of $425,000 for classroom and district-wide infrastructure upgrades will keep us on the cutting edge of technology. Note, our technology purchases, however, will exceed $750,000, but as a result of the Schools and Libraries USAC funding program, also called E-rate funding, we will be reimbursed for $325,000 of those costs. This is the first time the district will benefit from Level 2 E-rate funding. And new adoptions, the impact on the 2018-19 budget is $200,000 for a math curriculum that will be in effect for at least 10 years. The employee benefits line, which is approximately 20% of the budget and contains costs for health, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, workers' compensation insurance, pension costs, payroll taxes, and other benefits. The projected increase here is 7.25%, principally due to the estimated cost increases in premiums for medical coverage, 12%, prescription coverage, 10%, workers' comp, 13%, and we estimate at least a 7 to 8% increase in pension contribution costs. The maintenance and operation line, which is approximately 10% of the budget, contains costs for required maintenance, snow removal, custodial services, security, and energy costs. The transportation line, which is about 6% of the budget, contains costs for salaries to operate a fleet of approximately 48 buses, contracted services or outside vendors that provide daily busing for students. And again, we transport approximately 10,000 students per day to and from school. It also includes fuel costs, maintenance of the fleet, and administration of the entire transportation operation. The administrative cost line, which is about 6% of the budget, contains the cost for the staffing of the main offices of all schools, that is the school principals and their secretaries, the superintendent's office, the business office, and district-wide technology. The tuition cost line, which is about 2.4% of the budget, contains costs for tuition of out-of-district private placements and tuition for students that attend vocational schools. And the capital outlay line, which is about 1% of the budget, contains costs for instructional and non-instructional equipment and facility upgrades. Program costs. This slide provides an analysis of all the programmatic costs and district-wide support services in the district, which represents about 53% of the budget, or $81.5 million. Each line, with a few exceptions, contain costs for salaries and supplies. I will identify the exceptions. Regular programs. All the costs for regular education programs for kindergarten to grade 12. For your information, we have approximately 538 regular ed teachers in the district. Special ed programs. Currently, our in-district special ed programs are as follows. We have a learning and language disabilities program. We have a behavioral disabilities program. Again, these are in-house programs. We have a multiple disabilities program. We have a resource room program. We have an autism program. We have a preschool disabled program that's a half-day program. We have a preschool disabled program that's full days. Now for these programs, we have 144 teachers and 143 paraprofessional aides. For our basic skills or academic support program, we have 36 teachers and 8 aides. For our bilingual program, we have 13 bilingual teachers. The co-curricular programs include the costs for coaches' stipends, stipends for clubs, and also supplies and equipment for our sports activities. The alternative programs are cost recovery programs for students that need additional help. The next group of costs are district-wide support costs. Costs for attendance include the cost for 4 attendance personnel. The health line covers the cost of the 24 nurses that are in the district and all the supplies that are required for the nurse's office. The related or speech program, we have 14 speech teachers, and it also includes professional services for speech evaluations. The extraordinary services programs, those are professional services required by students with individual educational programs, IEPs. The guidance line covers the cost of 35 guidance counselors and 8 secretarial staff. In our child study team line, we have 8 learning consultants, we have 8 social workers, we have 8 psychologists, and we have 7 secretaries. The development of IEPs is within this group, and it also includes professional services for district-wide implementation. The improvement of instruction line, that includes the cost of the district supervisors. There are 11 district supervisors with 3 secretaries. The educational media services line covers the cost of 1 teacher, 8 librarians, 3 secretaries, the cost for periodicals, audiovisual materials, library books, and license fees for the libraries. The instructional staff training line is the line that covers the cost, that includes the cost of staff development and curriculum writing. The capital outlay cost that are included in the 2018-19 budget, we will be spending $100,000 on instructional equipment, $100,000 on bathroom renovations and classroom renovations, $325,000 on district-wide technology infrastructure, and as I've already mentioned, that will actually be $650,000, for which we will receive reimbursement for $325,000 from the E-rate funding. $660,000 of facilities upgrades for safety and security, and we will be spending to wrap up our FEMA electrical project at Sandburg, $229,000 to complete that project. The next 2 items, SDA assessment and capital reserve transfers, those are mandated charges that the state insists that we book and pay each year. The next page is a graphic or a pie presentation of the proposed $154 million budget. After reviewing each area, you have a better understanding of what is contained in each. You can see the bulk of the appropriations from this pie chart. Programmatic costs are 53%, employee benefits 21%, maintenance and transportation 16%. This is 90% of district operations. Cost increases in the district. A summary of the major cost increases in the 2018 budget are as follows. Salaries and wages will increase $1,126,722. That's a 1.4% increase in salaries. Benefit costs will increase $2,215,585, or 7.25% increase. And our safety and security costs included in this budget are $1,050,000. Unusual revenue items. The administration recommendation and board decision was made in February that we would utilize the health care automatic cap adjustment, banked cap, and district unrestricted reserves to fund the 2018-19 budget. In addition, $675,000 from capital reserved to fund projects in the long-range facility plan, and $1,500,000 from the maintenance reserve fund for remediation of code compliance issues and required maintenance. And we had remaining in the emergency reserve account $1,003, which we will use to cover the health care costs in 2018-19. Mandated reserves or restricted reserves and unrestricted reserves are being utilized in this budget in the amount of $4,166,014. These mandated reserves are a result of prior year unbudgeted revenue received, unspent appropriations that exceeded the allowable 2% reserves of the district's annual expenditures, and unrestricted reserves in the amount of $263,944 are being utilized to fund the 2018 budget. The next item on this page is called bank cap. Bank cap is a state calculation indicating how much a district may go over the 2% local tax levy cap to fund the operating budget. Utilization of bank cap requires justification and approval from the executive county superintendent. In 2018, we have requested the usage of $600,976 of banked cap, which was approved by the executive county superintendent. All unused bank cap that's remaining, $1,467,405, will expire in 2018 and 2019. This is the first time we will not have access to banked cap in a few years. Where does banked cap come from? First, it is not cash that's set aside. It is a state calculation. Very simply put, the calculation identifies that the local tax levy, in our case before the utilization of the $600,000, is $2,068,381 lower than what it would have been if the district elected to raise taxes during the last 3 years up to the amount that was allowed by law. The bank cap is only available or accumulates for 3 years and then expires. This is a rolling calculation, and it is used to go above the 2% cap. The automatic cap adjustments. There are a number of automatic cap adjustments that are available to school district. This year, as a result of the projected increase in health care benefits, an automatic cap adjustment for health care cost to exceed the 2% tax levy is available and is being used in the amount of $2,016,858. And again, this is after utilizing the small amount of the emergency reserve. Revenue. The first item on the general fund revenue page is called budgeted fund balance. When a district approves its budget, the budget is a tool to manage the district finances, and it contains numerous estimates in terms of revenue and expenditures. To the extent that revenues received exceed revenues budgeted, that excess revenue goes into fund balance. To the extent that actual expenses are less than expenses appropriated, that underspent appropriation also goes into fund balance. The district may only maintain 2% of the previous year's expenditures in unrestricted fund balance. However, there are short-term exceptions to that rule, and the one exception is extraordinary aid. Any amount over that amount has to be transferred by board resolution in June of each year, either to capital reserve, maintenance reserve, or emergency reserve, or it is returned to the taxpayer in the form of taxpayer relief or budgeted fund balance, a revenue item in the subsequent year budget. The reserve withdrawal line represents withdrawals from the restricted reserve accounts to fund this year's projects, healthcare costs, capital and maintenance reserve, and emergency reserve. The local tax levy line is the assessment to local taxpayer, and this proposed budget requires a 4.72% tax levy increase. The state aid line has increased by 1%, or $444,658. Most districts in Middlesex County received additional state aid for 2018-2019. Generally speaking, state aid is distributed by the state using a complicated formula that is impacted by enrollment, special ed enrollment, at-risk enrollment, limited English proficiency enrollment, low-income enrollment, eligibility for transportation, district factor group, geographic location in the state, and the adequacy budget, which is a calculation of the state on the basis of a model, non-existent 5,000 student school district. A compare and contrast of our district to that model also affects state aid. It appears that districts that are underfunded in terms of the student funding formula received larger state aid increases than others. We are not one of those districts. There are 24 districts in Middlesex County receiving state aid and increases this year ranging from 0 increase to 12.9% increase. We received 1% increase in state aid. However, Old Bridge will receive $45.2 million in state aid of the $154 million budget, which is more than 21 of the 24 districts in the county. That represents 29% of our budget. Woodbridge, which is the 21st on the list, received only $30.4 million, or 14% of a $218 million budget. $15 million less than Old Bridge. Some other examples: South Brunswick received $24.8 million of state aid, or 18% of a $134 million budget. East Brunswick, which we are very often compared to, received $18.8 million, or 13% of a $140 million budget. Edison received $16.3 million, or 7% of a $230 million budget. We in Middlesex County, we in Old Bridge, are at the high end of state aid recipients in the county. The other state aid line is extraordinary aid, which is received for special ed students. The other revenue line is any other revenue that cannot be categorized in any of the other categories. Examples are interest income, facilities fees, cell tower revenue, tuition revenue, and refunds from prior years, to use a few examples. The 2018 tax rate calculation. This slide represents information necessary to calculate the tax rate and the impact on the average homeowner. The tax levies here are for 2 years and averaged. The tax rateable base is divided by $100, and that becomes the basis to calculate the tax rate. So $98,600,252 is divided by the modified tax rateable base to arrive at the tax rate. Note that the tax rateable base increased significantly this year by $39,678,532 and has increased in each of the last 3 years. Therefore, a local tax levy increase of 4.72% to maintain all existing programs, significantly expand school safety and security, and institute a math program that will be in effect for the next 10 years will cost the average homeowner with an assessed value of $152,500. It will cost them $107.62 per year, or $8.97 per month. Thank you very much for your attention and patience. I know that was long. Once approved, a user-friendly budget will be posted on the district website shortly thereafter. At this point, I will hand it back to Dr. Hoker.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. And in summary, the proposed budget for 2018-19 maintains existing educational programs, expands our school security measures to remain proactive in mitigating threats to student and staff safety, provides funding to ensure all curriculum and resources are aligned with all state standards, supports the community-driven Mission 2022 strategic plan, continues the expansion in technology that is necessary for the 21st century learning and assessment, provides academic, social, and emotional support mechanisms for all learners regardless of their talents and abilities, and continues facilities modifications to comply with all regulations and occupant needs. Thank you. Mr. Dunn? Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Hoker. Thank you, Dr. Hoker. First, I just want to sincerely thank Joe Mara and the administration for doing an incredible job with preparing the 2018-2019 budget. It's a very difficult process. It's very tedious, and it's painstaking to go through the numbers and try to make things work. Obviously, you know, the situation that the school district is in with this year's proposed budget isn't optimum. It's not the best solution that we have. However, at this point, with the pressures that are on the school district for varying reasons, through healthcare benefits, security improvements, and our responsibilities to our employees, it's not the perfect budget. However, at this point, we have a situation where, you know, we'll be asking for 4.72%. With that said, I just want to sincerely thank Joe and his staff, Mr. Cittadino, Dr. Hoker, for their input and their hard work on this budget, and the goal was to preserve our programs. As we all know, Old Bridge has become an incredible school district. We have a very progressive system. We're excelling and doing very well in a lot of different areas, and we need to continue that. So to try to construct and mold a budget that's going to maintain those programs and continue the incredible improvements, it's painstaking. So with that said, I'm going to ask for a motion. I'm sorry. Before we go there, we're going to open up to the hearing of the residents on agenda items only. Obviously, the agenda tonight is for the 2018-2019 budget. Would anyone like to speak this evening? Going once, going twice. I'm closing the public hearing. And we're moving on now to the 2018-2019 school year budget. Do I have a motion to move the 2018-2019 school year budget proposal?
DeCaro will move.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Callie will second.
Thank you, Ms. Callie. Any discussion or concerns?
Yes.
Mr. Solokowski.
Okay. Mr. Mara, I want to thank you for the outstanding job you did to explain basically what's going on within the school system. And you were dealt this set of hands or cards, and you just dealt what you had to do what you had to do with them. Dr. Hoker, I'm going to come up with a proposal on how we can get by with this large increase, but not going through somehow. Your proposal, my proposal, everything will still stay the same, and quality of education will not change at all. Okay, I look at the 12 elementary schools that I have, and I'm looking at the student enrollment in most of the buildings. I came up with this proposal about 6 or 7 years ago, and nothing really came out of it. For example, Carpenter has 273 students. In my opinion, I feel that we only need a principal in there for 3 days. And what happens for the other 2 days, they would go to a different building. Somebody would always be in the building to monitor and make sure things are flowing correctly. By the looks of it, we have approximately 39 or 40 sections, and there are 60 sections. So we can eliminate probably in the area of 1/3 of the administration in the elementary schools. And with technology the way it is, if something happens in one building, in 2 minutes, everybody knows. That's one proposal, and you're saving over there probably around $750,000 to even close to $1 million. My other proposal would be, I have the students, and I have to look at everything else. Now, in my situation, I was a school teacher for approximately 40 years. I had a 10-month contract. Mr. Reed also was an educator, and he had a 10-month contract. We did a lot of work in the school system on the side. I ran what we call a summer work study program, where we would hire students for approximately 4 or 5 weeks, and in the summertime, give them some training. We did whatever we had to, sanded doors, painting, bathrooms, things like that. Mr. Reed also was involved with the TV studio, and he got a stipend for the extra work. My proposal is basically to put the entire school system on a 10-month contract. That would save approximately $4 or $5 million to the taxpayer. What happens is, during the school year, being an educator, I loved it, because I was off approximately 4 or 5 weeks off during the school year. A week off for Christmas, a week off for Easter, 3 or 4 days for a convention, all the Catholic holidays, the Jewish holiday. We were approximately 25, 26 days off. These people that have a 12-month contract, they also get this time off, but not only that, they're also getting a vacation in there somehow for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. Not that if I need somebody for the summer for 2 or 3 weeks, I would give them a stipend. So my proposal will not affect the quality of education at all. You have to remember, I would gladly vote for this budget if it was reasonable. The inflation rate is approximately 1.5%, 2%. But that kind of increase, I just can't go along. I have to be a spokesman for the taxpayers. And the taxpayers, they can't afford it anymore. What they're doing is they're moving out of the state by the droves because of the increases. So again, I'm going to repeat it. Some of my proposals will not affect the quality of education. It's still there. Unfortunately, some people, and one more thing. I noticed the last agenda meeting that we had, there was a couple of our one positions, I guess it was a 12-month contract for somebody. I would like to see it all on future agendas, either all in future hirees, either 10 or 12-month contract. That's the way I would like to see it, because this way I would determine how I'm going to vote on this. Again, we have a beautiful system. We have a lot of wonderful programs, and we can hold on to all these things if we really have to think out of the box and do something about this. Okay, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solokowski. As everyone knows, we do go through budget workshops from October forward, and these are proposals which I would like you to submit next time around, and we can discuss them thoroughly so that the administration can consider those ideas. I think there's some merit there, but that's
I only said it so the public could hear it and the board could hear it. I know this budget's going to pass because probably 4 or 5 people are going to vote for it, okay? But this is something to think about for the next year.
And that's what I'm saying, Mr. Silikowski. So this is something which should be mentioned at the budget workshops so that the entire board can deliberate and discuss it with the administration and give it some credence.
Okay, I have one more thing. You know, being an educator for so many years, we had supervisors, directors, and they all taught one period. I don't see anybody teaching anymore. The only ones that are teaching now are the teachers. My supervisor, Dr. Nelson, and a few others, they had 1 or 2 periods in the morning, and then the rest of the day they did what they had to do. I don't know what happened to this. Right now, the only people that are teaching are the teachers. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Silikowski. Anyone else on the board have any concerns or comments to make?
Mr. Dunn, I've prepared some notes, if I may.
Absolutely, Mr. DePrima.
I actually just added to them. Before I say my thoughts, I'd like to appeal to my colleagues that we seriously look into many of the things that Mr. Sulikowski just mentioned, because they seem to make a lot of sense. All right, now this is my part. I've been taking some notes all night. Excuse me. 2 nights ago, we celebrated one of the best parts of being a board member, recognition. Tonight, we talk about one of the hardest parts, the budget. There is so much that goes into this process. We are presented with pages and pages of numbers and line items that Mr. Mara meticulously prepares for us. I am proud of where we are as a school district. You heard Dr. Hoker and Mr. Mara recite all of our accomplishments. To get to where we are and keep moving forward, it costs, and many of those costs increase yearly, much like your household budget, groceries, utilities, etc. Many of our costs are state mandated, and we have no choice. A large part of this budget is a substantial increase in student safety. We are tired of hearing of crimes against students countrywide, and we are doing what we must do to ensure the safety of our students, our children, as a top priority. In order to keep moving forward and keep our programs and personnel intact, this budget does have an unavoidable increase. To that end, I will be supporting it, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DePrima. I saw that Mr. Dinoff has a few comments.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. I would first like to say that reviewing and passing a budget is one of the most challenging but important tasks that we do as a board and as a district. It's an extended process, as Mr. Mara highlighted, beginning over 6 months ago internally. I would first like to thank Mr. Mara, the business office staff, and administration for their tireless work, and also my fellow board members for their spirited discussion and debate throughout the process. Most importantly, I would like to thank the public, community members, and students who approached us and reached out to us with their concerns, questions, and ideas. After the disturbing Parkland tragedy, many reached out to us and came to speak at meetings to present their concerns and propose solutions related to school safety. And this budget effectively responds to those very concerns. We heard you loud and clear, and after this period, we took significant actions, adoptions, and plan implementations to ensure the safety and security of our schools to meet the needs of the district. Moreover, this budget maintains our current programs and high caliber of education, as depicted in the beginning of the presentation. It also includes funding for much-needed K-8 math adoption curriculum innovations. Something else I would like to highlight is that Mr. Mara also reviewed is the budgeted fund balance amount in next year's budget. This basically refers to the funds that must be allotted in each year's budget in order to supplement the next year's amount. This has built up over time to a level where it's $4.6 million currently, and I personally feel it's very fiscally important for the district to work towards reducing this over time. I am very proud that we were able to reduce this line by a significant amount in this next year's budget. It's a 9% reduction from this year, which is currently, as I mentioned, $4.6 million, and we're reducing it to well over $4.2 million. And I think this is an excellent achievement. We also have solid plans to reduce this further in the future, so the district is making excellent progress financially as well. With that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work on the budget. I think this is a very strong budget that effectively meets the needs of the district and responds to the justified concerns and priorities of the community at large. Therefore, I'll be voting in support of this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoff. Anyone else would like to comment? Seeing no others, the mere fact that the Board of Education has a responsibility to educate our children, obviously costs rise on a continuous basis, and we could do everything in our power to try to mitigate and to control those costs. However, with this 4.72% increase, a big substantial portion of that cost is beyond our control. $2.1 million for health care that we're obligated to pay our employees is something that's beyond our control. And that's why the state has in their fancy formulas a cap adjustment for that item. That alone is roughly half of the monies that we're asking for in this budget proposal. That's a lot of money that we have no control of. To penalize our students, to penalize our programs based upon obligations that we do not have control of is insane. And quite frankly, unfortunately, the taxpayer needs to pay it, and we're doing everything in our power to control it. I know that we've had a lot of constructive conversations, a lot of great ideas have been tossed around, and unfortunately, healthcare is something that's beyond our control. I know Mr. Marin and the administration have looked for alternatives, but there's only so many avenues you can turn to try to control that cost. Another issue, as already explained and discussed by our fellow board members, my fellow board members, is that the security issues after the Parkland tragedy. We have an obligation to keep our students safe. We have an obligation to ensure the safety not only of our students, but our staff, employees, and parents when they visit. With that said, we have undertaken an incredible, comprehensive, progressive security measure, which will make sure that we are the finest and secured school district in the state of New Jersey. We're very proud of it. We're very proud with our efforts with the Old Bridge Police Department to ensure that the safety of our buildings are the best. You cannot put a price tag on safety. So that was also approximately 1% of our 4.7%. So right there between the two, we're at 3.2% increase, leaving 1.5% for ancillary items. So with that said, it's not a perfect budget. However, I need to support this budget for those various reasons. We are excelling, we're doing extremely well, and we need to continue pushing the progressive agenda that we have in this district. It's paying dividends. Our children are excelling. This district has done wonders, and we are going to continue that effort. So with that said, I will be supporting this budget. And at this point, if no other board member has a comment, I'm going to open up for a roll call. Not seeing anyone? Mr. Mara, roll call, please.
Callie,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dinoff,
Yes.
Lent,
No.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
No.
Dunn.
Yes.
The 2018-19 budget passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving forward, I'm going to open it again, a hearing of the residents on any school-related items. Please feel free to discuss anything, praise us, criticize us, give us whatever information that you desire, because we are here to hear you and try to make things better for our community. Not seeing anyone, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Moving forward, at this point, we're at adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Can I just say one thing? Before
Absolutely.
we adjourn, I was, I'm sorry, turn the microphone off, asked to remind the public about the district flea market, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to call up the information. Bear with me. Yes, I was looking for the times, thank you. This Saturday from 10 to 4 in the GNC parking lot, they're going to have over 60 tables, flea market style, vendors, children activities, and food vendors. So please come out and support that effort. It is bringing revenue into the district. Thank you.
How am I going to get into my driveway with all those cars coming and going?
Well,
Just kidding.
Very well. I have a motion. May I have a second, please? No,
Dinoff
Ms.
will
Callie
motion.
didn't motion?
I'll
second.
motion.
Then you
Dinoff
motion.
will
May I have a
second.
second, please? Dinoff was second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Any opposed?